Good evening, afternoon, or whatever time it is you're joining us here from, and welcome to our You Belong at ND series, where today we'll be focusing on affordability and ensuring student success here at the University of Notre Dame. My name is Shamar Cousin. I am an assistant director here at the University of Notre Dame in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions, and I will be your host for this session here today. And I'm joined by a lovely, lovely panel of current students here, and I'll allow them to introduce themselves as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Alejandra. I'm a junior, double majoring in political science and theology. While being born in the States, I went to school in Dominican Republic, but my home under a dome is Pascagoula West Hall. Go Weasels! Some other things I'm involved with on campus include being a Tocqueville Fellow with the Center for Citizenship and Constitutional Government, as well as an executive officer for ND Right to Life.
Hi, my name is Skylar. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm currently a sophomore. I'm studying gender studies and pre-health, and I live in Brain Phillips Hall.
Hi, my name is Drew Harrell. I'm a junior here at Notre Dame. I'm a philosophy, theology, and pre-health major. My home under the dome is not Hall. Go Juggernauts. My current home address is Evans, Georgia, but I am an Army brat, so they say, so I've been all over the place. A couple of things I'm involved with here at Notre Dame include the marching band, volunteering with campus ministry through Mercy Works, and some pre-health clubs here on campus.
Awesome. Thank you, Drew, and the rest of our panelists here, Skylar, Alejandra. And thank you all for joining us here today as well. As you can probably imagine from the title of our event here this evening, we'll be focusing a lot on affordability. And when it comes to affordability, the first thing that probably comes to your mind is cost, or that large sticker price that you see at the top of university price tags. And here at the University of Notre Dame, we never want, that cost or financial situations to be a burden or a barrier for our students or our families. And that is why we meet 100% of student and families' demonstrated financial need without packaging any loans. So you don't really get to experience that, the full Notre Dame experience without having to think about, paying back loans and things of that nature. But today we'll focus on the fact that affordability and ensuring success goes a lot further than just financial aid or just that net price and cost of things. And that's what we'll focus on here today. So that's enough talking out of me here. I really want to open it up to the stars of the show, our current students and the panelists here. So Drew, I'll pick on you here first.
Sure.
And hopefully this is a softball, an easier one for you, but how did you first learn about Notre Dame, and what were your thoughts as you were going through that college application process?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, grew up in a military family. I was actually starting to compile my college list while I lived in Italy. I had no idea where my family was going to live next or throughout my college career, so location didn't matter to me, essentially. So I was looking for pre-med colleges. I knew I wanted to be a doctor at that point. Notre Dame had double the national average for medical school acceptance rate, and that jumped out at me first. I was also looking at growing in my Catholic faith. That was something that was important to me at the time, and still is, of course. And so Notre Dame was a real blend of those two, so it really caught my eye. And then what sealed the deal for me was when I visited campus for the first time and was really like, oh, this is a place that I could really see as a home for me, which was something really special. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else want to jump in here?
This is about how I found out about Notre Dame?
Yep.
I found out about Notre Dame through QuestBridge. Originally, I wasn't too sure about it, and I was really nervous about applying to colleges. I was I'll go anywhere as long as I get in and they offer good aid. So I applied to Notre Dame QuestBridge regular decision, and I saw everyone. I also wasn't sure on what exactly I wanted to do and go to college for, and I saw everyone who went to Notre Dame, they graduated and were doing well in life, and I was like, that's what I want. So Notre Dame's the perfect school for me.
Yeah, that is very true. Whenever you talk about any alumni from Notre Dame, whenever you talk to them about their time here, they're always talking about how much they loved it. And I think that was something that stuck out to me a lot when I was making my decision. Mostly my counselor recommended I apply to this school. And then I wasn't really sure. But my mom really wanted to visit. She really, really pushed hard for us to visit because she really wanted to see the Golden Dome. And thank God she did, because it was only when I visited that I fell in love with the school. Campus is beautiful, and again, you get to meet all this alumni that are so in love with the school, and even current students. The way they talk about community here on campus, the support system that is here for you, it's just unmatched and absolutely incredible.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we have 3 pretty different stories of why, how you first heard of Notre Dame and why you ended up choosing Notre Dame. And I think that's a pretty good representation of what we see from the student body here. We have students coming from all over the world, not just in the U.S., but internationally as well. And they're choosing Notre Dame for a lot of different reasons. But hopefully you all are happy with the decision that you made in coming to Notre Dame, at least happy enough that you're joining me here on this panel. Okay. Yeah. So I'll get us started with the next question here. And Skylar, I'll pick on you for this second one here. Mm-hmm. Thinking back to your college kind of search process and the application, all those different things, how did cost play a factor or affect that journey and that search as you were looking at Notre Dame and other universities as well?
Okay. I know for myself, I was really interested in going out of state for school. I only lived in New Orleans and Louisiana throughout my whole life, so I really wanted to see something different. But I knew for me, going out of state to another public school, I would pay even more than going to my in-state public university. So I was really looking into schools that offered really great aid, like Notre Dame offering the need-based aid. And it ended up being, once everything was done and over with all my applications, it was a lot more affordable for me to come to Notre Dame than it would be to have gone to my state school. So it gave me the opportunity to be able to go out of state with no financial worries.
Yeah, that is awesome. And I think that's just important to think about too. Going back to that idea of like that sticker price of college and university, I think sometimes you can see that Notre Dame sticker price and think, oh my gosh, that is impossible. That's not something that my family and myself can afford, but it really does come down to that actual financial aid, and it can look a lot different comparing it to different colleges and universities as well. So I think that's a very important thing to note there.
Yeah. I had a similar experience applying to schools. I applied to, I think, 11 different schools all over the country. Really didn't know at first where I wanted to go. Eventually, Notre Dame became my top choice, so I'm happy to have ended up here. But cost was certainly an issue. I ended up graduating, did my senior year in Texas. So I was a resident of Texas, had in-state tuition there, but I wasn't from Texas, didn't really know Texas, and I didn't like the heat, so I didn't want to stay in Texas. So I was definitely looking for schools that had the same need-based aid and other things like that. I didn't really know what that meant, but I figured if I applied, I would hopefully figure out in a good way that it was a good thing, which worked out. Actually, same Notre Dame, of all the schools I applied to, ended up being the cheapest because of the financial aid they provided. Like what I got from Notre Dame topped what I got in scholarships from other private universities, plus in-state tuition that I got from the schools I applied to in Texas. So it was my top school without aid, and then it was just, I guess, a miracle that I was actually able to afford it, and I didn't feel bad about turning down a school that would have cost less to come to this school. So that was really great.
I absolutely share that experience because I remember, when, looking at that price tag that you so mentioned, Shamar, I remember, looking at that with my mom and thinking, I don't know about this. And then the fact that, visiting, it's such a great school. You love it. You really want to come here. I think for a lot of people, they look at that price tag and they think, it's not a possibility. But I think when I visited, I really realized how much of a possibility it was. And that's, partly because of how great the financial aid team here is. They're really a great source of support and a great tool, I think, for students that are currently going here and prospective students as well. They answered all my questions and guided me throughout the process, which was something that was really important for me because My parents, they didn't go to school in the U.S. So I was the first person in my family to go to school in the U.S. And we really had no idea how to navigate that process. But the financial aid team at Notre Dame was a really great source of support throughout that entire time.
Yeah, I wanted to add another thing. When it came to the need-based aid, I didn't exactly understood how it worked, but it was a very stress-free process. Like, it was really you just send in your financial aid application, I believe. It was really just sending in more of just the FAFSA and maybe some tax paperwork, and then everything else was taken care of from then. There wasn't every single semester needing to apply for scholarships within the school or have to hunt down outside scholarships and hope I can earn enough to pay for my tuition. It's been a really nice not to have that stress.
Yeah. Going off that, so my family moves around, and they've moved around actually every year since I've been in college, and it kind of presents itself in different ways. My family situation is different everywhere we live. So in Pennsylvania, where they lived last year, my mom worked, but only for a couple months. She was able to have a job. And before that, she didn't have one at all a couple duty stations ago. But Notre Dame took that into account, which was really nice. They were like, oh, okay, we know you're only working with this much at home, so we're gonna help you out a little bit more, which was great in itself, of course, but also great that I didn't even really have to think about it. They were just there for me. And I think it kind of goes back to the fact that this place is really a community and a family. Like, we care about each other a lot here, which is maybe cliche to say, but definitely true.
No, I think that is all awesome stuff. And yeah, a quick plug there for our Office of Financial Aid from really all of you there. I mentioned this is an all-star panel of students we have up here, but our financial aid team, a bunch of rock stars as well. They are really, really awesome and helping to understand all this financial aid lingo and things that we've been talking about up here, like meeting 100% of need and all these different costs and what exactly that means. I know we have talked a bunch about like need-based financial aid up here, but I also want to note very quickly, because I know we've got some questions about some things in the chat as well. So that's another thing I should have mentioned at the start. For all the students here and families in the chat, feel free to continue asking questions, doing all those great things like that. But there were some questions about merit scholarships available as well and how exactly that works, what that looks like at the university. So we do have merit scholarships as well at the University of Notre Dame. They are a little bit different than the need-based ones. So those need-based scholarships are based fully on your family's ability to pay full tuition here at the university. Those merit scholarships, a little bit more rare. Only about 3 to 5% of students will receive some sort of merit scholarship, but all students are automatically considered for those merit scholarships. So there's not any checkbox that you have to select when you're applying. I know, Skylar, you mentioned like FAFSA and CSS profile and things that you had to submit for need-based aid. On the merit side of things, no checkbox that you have to select. All students who are admitted automatically considered for those merit scholarships. About 3 to 5% of them will receive them, and we do prioritize those merit scholarships in our restrictive early action deadline as well. So 2 deadlines here at Notre Dame. First one, restrictive early action, which is November 1st, coming up here right around the corner. And the second one is regular decision, which is our January 3rd deadline. We prioritize those merit scholarships in that restrictive early action pool there. So that's a bit about merit scholarships, how they look, a little bit different from need-based, but also money that we would have for our students here at the university. So just wanted to chime in there with some of that stuff, but I'll be back to being a good host here and really asking you all the questions instead of saying all the stuff myself. So jumping back in, I'll go to you, Alejandra, next about, what are some of the resources or activities or experiences that you got to experience here on campus or beyond that had to do with like affordability or some type of cost and things of that nature?
Absolutely. And this is a time where I get to talk about one of my favorite memories, highlights of my time here at Notre Dame, which was my study abroad. So just a quick note on that. Financial aid, if you're studying abroad during a semester, it transfers over. So essentially, you would pay the exact amount that to go to school. I don't know, wherever you're studying abroad, maybe wherever, if that is Rome or if that is London, you would pay the exact same amount. So your financial aid package would be the exact same, whether you would be going to school there as you would pay to go to school here. But for me, I decided that the best thing for me was study abroad in the summer. I really didn't want to miss a single semester here. It's just so awesome. And so, when you study abroad in the summer, that because you're taking an extra class during the summer, that is not part of what you would pay or what is considered. Usually when we think about, yearly tuition or cost of attendance. And so, even though I really wanted to study abroad in the summer, I was kind of worried about that was an additional expense that my family was going to have to cover. But thanks to all the resources here available at Notre Dame and through the resources at Notre Dame Global, I was able to apply and be awarded the Notre Dame Expanding Global Access Award, which essentially allowed me to go studying abroad in Rome this past summer, which was absolutely amazing, without having to worry about the cost of the program. And so it's just been one of the really big highlights of my time here at Notre Dame. And it just really goes to show that, the financial aid package is not, the idea of affordability is not all about that financial aid package. Notre Dame really wants to make sure that you get to experience all of the opportunities that the university provides for you, without regarding, whatever your financial status is.
I had the opportunity to go abroad the summer of my freshman year, and it wasn't with an official study abroad program. It was through the Kellogg Experiencing the World Fellowship, and I went to Zambia, and everything was fully covered by the program. And even though baseline, everything's covered, that's great. But like, say you're a student who needs to work during that time, everyone in the program also received a stipend, so there wasn't any kind of stress about participating in the program and needing to work back at home. You were able to fully participate without any kind of worry, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I had similar experiences. I've been fortunate enough to get to go on a couple different trips. Last year, I went backpacking, actually, in upstate New York in the Appalachian Mountains. Yeah, which was a great time. And then in the spring, I went to Rome with a group of guys, which was all thanks to the university, which was really incredible. And then I've had friends who have gotten to go on these different week-long breaks during the fall or spring. I had a friend who just went to Ecuador, actually, a couple friends, to do medical brigades down there. So they're my pre-med friends of mine, and they just got to go and work in a hospital, do that sort of medical hands-on things with patients, helping out in a community that really could use them. Another friend did it last year in Panama, which was just really cool. Great experience, and something that is fully covered by the university. They want you to be able to do that without worrying about the cost, which is really nice.
Yeah, I think that is all awesome stuff here. Another thing that I would just note, and going back to not being as good of a host as I probably should be, and inserting my own Notre Dame story, something that I didn't mention in my intro is that I also went to the University of Notre Dame, which all of you know already, but everyone in the audience might not know that. But so I went to the University of Notre Dame as well, graduated in 2021, and I was a first-gen low-income student here at the university, and really, I wanted my experience to look like everyone else's experience, and oftentimes I was like, I can't really afford that, or I don't know if I can go to the home football games because I don't think my family can afford to get tickets for the games, or, I've got an interview coming up for my first, internship opportunity, and I don't have a nice suit or a tie or anything like that to wear to these different things. And I was able to use this office that we have on campus called the Office of Student Enrichment, which is a really, really, really awesome place for any students that might have some sort of financial need, or they feel like something in that Notre Dame experience that we want everyone to be able to experience is they won't be able to live that out because of a financial burden. So I was able to go to the Office of Student Enrichment and say, hey, I want to go to the football games just like everyone else goes to the games, but I can't afford them. What can you do for me? And they were able to assist and help purchase football tickets for me. Or when I was going to get my first interview for an internship and I said, I don't have a suit and I don't have a tie, I was able to go and they bought me my first ever suit. And I still have that suit to this day and I still wear it sometimes. It doesn't fit quite as well as it did back then, but I still wear it occasionally when I have the opportunity to do so. But I think the Office of Student Enrichment is great for things like that. Those costs that you might not even think about as a student coming in, like maybe you are coming from New Orleans, Louisiana, Texas, things like that, where it's 112 degrees and you get up here and you need a winter jacket or something like that, or you want a scarf, or maybe your laptop breaks or your cell phone cracks or anything like that you might not think about, those indirect costs that really pile up and might really put that burden and barrier to some of your experiences that you're having on campus. Office of Student Enrichment, great for all things like that. So just wanted to do a quick plug for student enrichment. Another thing, just like our financial aid office, that whole lot of rock stars working in that office over there.
I want to add on to about the Office and Student Enrichment. I actually use the Office of Student Enrichment to help me with my move-in cost, and they helped pay for like my family's plane tickets to come up and like their hotel and like a Target gift card to help me go shop. Like these were all things I didn't even think about the cost when, especially like coming from out of state and coming from so far. I was only able to pack like my 2 suitcases with Southwest, and when I got here I realized, oh, this is nothing for a dorm. I need to go and do a lot of shopping, and I was very worried about the financials of it, but it was able to be greatly alleviated by Office of Student Enrichment.
And I think that's awesome. I think that's what they're here for, because, those are costs that you don't even really think about as you're moving in and joining and going into this next stage of your life. You're not thinking about a Target run where you got to go pick up a mini fridge or, you need new bedding or things like that. Probably didn't think about that. You're just thinking about moving on up to Indiana here. So I think the Office of Student Enrichment really, really great for all things of that nature. And I saw some questions in the chat, and this is very, very random and a little bit off of the beaten path here that we've been talking about affordability, but there's been a lot of questions for you, Drew, about the band and your experience in the band and all things band. So do you mind just touching on your experience in the band and all the different things that you went through?
Oh, please, I would love to. So I am in the marching band, but I never marched before I got here. I just in concert band. I play the clarinet. So I totally expected to, hang up the clarinet, so to speak. But once I got here, I didn't know there was anything band besides marching, and I didn't know how to march. But after I was admitted, and even before, when I was a prospective student, I was getting all these like emails and even a handwritten letter, which actually really swayed my decision, about just doing band camp. They were like, just try it out. We'll teach you how to march. If you don't like it, no worries, but you get to move in early. So, and it was absolutely incredible. That's exactly what I did. I was like, okay, I'll try it. And it was one of the greatest experiences that I've had here. I didn't go to Ireland and study abroad. I went to Dublin last year as the season opener of football. One of the bands, actually a band supporter, it wasn't even the university, he paid for the entire band to go with the football team to Ireland. And so I got to go absolutely free of cost for a few days before and after the game, play at the game in Aviva Stadium in Dublin. My freshman year, I went to Las Vegas. This year, I'm going to New York. And then, I get into every football game, home football game for free, get to march through the tunnel, which I absolutely love. I remember my very first game, I marched through the tunnel, and it completely full stadium, and I didn't play a single note for the pregame. I just marched it because I was like, oh my gosh, like there's so many people. I was just shocked. But yeah, it was absolutely a great experience, and it's something that the university completely covers. And I didn't even know it was going to be part of my experience here, but I'm really glad that I was able to just jump right in. They just let me try it out and covered the whole thing, which was really incredible. Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for sharing that
Yeah,
that wonderful band experience here, Drew. I also have never marched and probably could not do anything like that. But very awesome that you've gotten to experience all those different things and get to go to all the home football games and things for free too.
Oh, yeah.
That's always a nice little bonus there.
Absolutely.
I know we had some more questions in the chat. I think this one based on, Skylar, you just talked about sort of your travel to and from campus and how the Office of Student Enrichment was able to help alleviate those different costs and things. I know we had some questions in the chat about transportation systems to and from like the airport, questions about seeing that, Notre Dame isn't necessarily closest to the biggest like major airport, closest one here probably in Chicago, although we do have South Bend International Airport. That is an international airport that we have here in South Bend. But can you all just talk a little bit about your transportation like to and from campus? How do you get from home back here to South Bend?
Yeah, I'll start again. So I haven't actually flown into South Bend. I know some of my friends do, which is really straightforward. It's just like a 20-minute car ride from the airport to here. I've always flown into Chicago. I've flown into both O'Hare and Midway, which are the two big airports in Chicago. And then I've used a number of different services to get from there to here. I've split an Uber ride only once actually, and it was not my favorite. A little more expensive, but there's also great programs like I think it's called Rides to You, which is it started here, I believe, and it's just a bunch of parents of students or students who graduated who are all on this one online platform, and they help with rides to and from campus and even Chicago, so that's a great resource to have. And then there's also the South Shoreline, which is a train that I take all the time. That's probably what I do most frequently. It's only $15 for a one-way ticket, and I just, hop on the metro to get from that station to the airport, which is like $3. And so then the 2-hour-ish way from Chicago all the way here is really cost-effective, and the train is, I think it's great. I'm a big fan, but that's a personal opinion. So yeah.
Yeah, I've also taken the South Shoreline to get to Chicago. Have to echo your thoughts. I think it's really great, cost effective. And, even if you're not just going to the airport, it's kind of nice just if you wanted to go to Chicago, from campus to there. Definitely there's the possibility of flying into Chicago and then using that. There's also some shuttles that I know that my mom probably knows a lot more about this than I do, but that are also cost effective versus like sharing an Uber or like paying for a driver yourself. And these shuttles are it's filled with Notre Dame students, and they pick you up like at the bookstore here, and then they take you to O'Hare, or they can take you to Midway, which is the other airport, big airport in Chicago. And so you kind of have those options out there for you, whether it is you want to fly into Chicago. There's those possibilities to get from Chicago to South Bend, but you can also fly into South Bend, as Shamar was pointing out, with our great South Bend International Airport. I also know I have some friends who just take buses home for people who live kind of close by, or even, I have some friends who do a 10-hour bus ride to New York. And it's just like a bus, very cost effective in terms of paying for a bus over a flight. And it's just, filled with Notre Dame students. You get to chat all your way there. And so there's definitely those kinds of options out there for you in terms of transportation.
Yeah, I've traveled all kinds of different ways. I've done the shuttle, sharing an Uber, just sharing a car. The community is really great here. A lot of the halls have group me's, or you can message and just talk to pretty much anyone and be like, hey, I'm going to the airport at this time. Do you want to share a ride? Or how do you plan on getting there? And most of the time, if they have space in their car, they'll split it with you, or they'll give you recommendations on other transportation services that might not be completely booked up, if you're going for something more private. And then you'll be really surprised. I've met a lot of really cool people just traveling, just trying to find a ride to and from the airport. You meet a lot of students that you would have likely, I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't have met otherwise. So it's kind of like a fun little thing.
Kind of to add on to that, something I never would have really thought about, I think, before I got here is people here are from all over, but there is a good concentration of people who live in Chicago or a suburb of Chicago. So I've frequently just caught a ride with a friend that I know from Chicago. Once or twice, friends have even put me up in their house for the night, which is really generous, and then helped me get to the airport the next morning, which, obviously you have to make the right friends for that, but if you make good ones, it's free. But that's always an option. I think my usual thing is like, okay, find a friend, and if that doesn't work out, then I find a shuttle, and if I'm too late for that through my own fault, then train. But there's never I never don't get home, essentially. There's always a way to get there. Yeah.
The good thing about that is that it's very easy to find good friends here.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And just speaking on buses and things, that reminds me of the Notre Dame alumni network, which is a quick plug for tomorrow's event that we're hosting about finding community at Notre Dame. So everyone tuning in tonight should also tune in tomorrow for that event. But the Notre Dame alumni network typically will have these alumni clubs all over the world, not just here in the U.S., but internationally as well. And oftentimes some of these clubs will actually host buses. They'll rent out a bus that will actually go. I know I'm from Philadelphia, the Philadelphia club. Every major break, we would have a bus that we would go from Philadelphia, pick up students in here at Notre Dame, and then we'd have multiple drop-off locations inside and outside of the city in Philly. And I know they have clubs that do that, not just in Philly, but a lot of clubs around the country that'll host those different Notre Dame specific buses that will pick you up at Notre Dame, drop you off in your hometown or at a central location near wherever it is that you live. So you can use things like that as well. And then one last thing that I wanted to note, because we've been talking so much about buses and things like that, is that we do also have public transportation here in South Bend, a bus system that is free for all students, faculty, and staff here at the University of Notre Dame. All you have to do is show your Notre Dame ID card, or if you're fancy now and have it on your phone, do mobile ID, you just kind of can show that on your phone, and you can ride on the bus there for free. And the bus does have very convenient drop-off points, has a pickup and drop off at the airport as well. So if you ever flew into South Bend, or you took the South Shore line or any of the buses and ended up at South Bend International Airport and needed to get back to campus from there, you could also take that the bus for free and get back to campus that way. Now, I know we have some more questions here in the chat. One question about what are support systems like for first-generation students here at the university. I will start and once again insert myself as pseudo-host and panelist as someone who was a first-gen student here at the university and discussing these first-gen student resources here that we have on campus. So I already mentioned things like the Office of Student Enrichment, which isn't just for our first-generation students, but for any student who needs some sort of financial assistance or things of that nature. We have multiple clubs here on our campus for our first-generation students, like First Gen ND. We have specific first-gen counselors in our Center for Career Development here on campus, which is our career center. They'll help you basically meet you wherever you need to be met in your internship and career finding journey, whether that's resume building, cover letter building, practice presentations and interviews and things of that nature. So Career Center for all students, and then we have that specific kind of sect of the Career Center that'll be specifically for our first generation students, or for those students who may not have had that same background experience without having student or people in their family who had gone on to college and things of that nature. We also have this thing called the Transformational Leadership Program, or TLP, which is a relatively new kind of system here that we have on our campus that will be for any sort of first gen or low income or student who has some sort of background that might benefit from being in a group of students that might look like you or come from similar backgrounds, and having that extra support system, having those different resources here available, having your own space. They have their own like transformational leadership program, like lounge in the main building, which is that golden dome that we have here on campus. And I know that a lot of you here have some experience with these different resources and things like that. So I'll stop being pseudo panelist and host and pass it back over to you folks.
Yeah, I'm in TLP, and I really love it. I really love like our common space that we have in the building. It gives me like a comfortable space to study outside of the library, and somewhere that's like homely. Like they have snacks, and then also I feel like a great thing about TLP is you get like partnered with like an advisor. And it's really helpful for like those outside of academic advising things, and especially like in your first year things you talk about with your first year advisor, but more of like the emotional things or even things about cost or like finding community. They're really helpful with working through that with you, and it was really helpful for me for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Skylar, for touching on that. I think that advising and those support systems and things like that are once again those indirect kind of costs and things that you don't really think about, that really do have that positive impact and benefit for our students who are coming from those different backgrounds. Mm-hmm. Now, I know we're getting towards the end of our time here, but I do have one last question that I'd love to ask all of you before we start to wrap up here. And this last one is thinking back, once again, going back to your senior year of high school, or whenever you were thinking about those college applications and that search process and all the different things, whether it's Notre Dame related or other schools that you were thinking about and considering. What's something that you know now that you wish you would have known back then?
I guess I'll start this time. Something that I think I wish I'd known earlier, I think I found out a bit late, and hopefully you can help all of you as you're discerning wherever you're going. It's, to just call and ask. I think I had a lot of questions in terms of affordability, but just in general about schools. And, there's a lot of information out there, a ton of information on, Notre Dame Admissions website, so much. And at times I think, I felt a little confused as I was talking about, being the first person in my family who went to school in the U.S. There were a lot of terms and, details and things that no one in my family was really familiar with. We were kind of trying to figure that out. So I would just say, call up and ask. Here at Notre Dame, we have, as I was talking about, an amazing team over at our Office of Financial Aid, but also an amazing team over at our admissions office that, we want to help you. I think the school wants to help you figure out that process. And so I think we welcome any kind of questions that you have. And I wish I'd known that earlier because it would have made my process a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. I would tell myself to not worry about cost when it comes to applying. Like, when I'm looking at schools, or if I was a student looking at schools, like look to see where you would fit in, where you feel like you would enjoy yourself and feel comfortable at. Apply, and then for the most part, if it's meant to be, everything else works itself out. So that would be my advice to myself.
Yeah, I have to echo what you said. I feel like if I could go back in time and tell myself, I'd definitely say, don't worry about the cost, especially with that sticker price that can be so scary, especially at private schools. I wish I had just applied to schools without worrying about it. In the end, it worked out for me, I think. But could have saved myself a lot of worry and anxiety, I think, if I was just focused on schools for what they are, what they offered me, and what I was looking for in academics and the community and the culture of schools over the cost. Especially because I didn't really know how financial aid worked. I wish I had known the call your friendly Office of Admissions. It was a great trick. But yeah, I wish I had just kind of focused on applying, trying to get in. I remember when decision letters were coming out, I got like Notre Dame acceptance, and I was like, I like stopped my mom. I was like, we can't celebrate yet. The financial aid isn't out yet. And then when we got that, then we celebrated because it was okay. But that's definitely something, because it's either going to work out or it's not. And all you can do is your best, right? So I works out for Notre Dame, I think. But that's definitely something I tell myself. It'll all be okay. I have a sister going through it right now. Shout out, Paige. And that's something I would tell her, all her friends, like, do what you will, do what you love, do where you know will be a home for you, and the cost will work itself out. So, yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. That's like a mic drop moment right there. But good luck to Paige and to any other students, seniors going through the process right now, or juniors, sophomores, freshmen who are just curious and really starting to think about all the different things here as you start going through that college application process. I think that's all very awesome advice. And I know I've been talking about all the different rock stars and things that we have, like financial aid and Office of Student Enrichment and things like that. But Alejandra, you are correct. And I'm a little bit biased, but I think us in admissions, we're also some rock stars. So don't hesitate to reach out to us, really, if you have any questions about application process, about costs, or the Office of Financial Aid, or people like the Office of Student Enrichment, or our current students and things of that nature. One thing that you hopefully got from this is that we're all human beings and we're all pretty friendly, and we love this university, and we like to chat about it, at least enough to be here at almost 8:45 p.m. on a Tuesday night here in Eastern time, and doing these different things. So please don't hesitate to reach out. But just to kind of put a bow on our great discussion here, I hope this has been beneficial for all of you out there in the audience, whether you're students, parents, counselors, whoever you are out there, to understand like this idea of affordability and the fact that it does go much deeper than just financial aid and just that notification that you get and via your email and that letter you'll get in the mail to talk about, how much you'll have to pay when it comes to coming to the University of Notre Dame or whatever college it is that you end up going to. But those other things like the travel and the study abroad and those like travel expenses and all those different resources and things that you might not really be thinking about as you're going through the process. And I think if you leave here with any kind of phrase in mind, it's really that we want all students to have this rich Notre Dame experience, and that experience should not rely on how much your family makes and how much you can afford to go to games or go to study abroad and all the different things like that. We want all students, regardless of your background, to be able to have that same Notre Dame experience. So we are deeply, deeply committed to making that a possibility for all of our students here, once again, regardless of where you're coming from or what you want to study or what you want to do going forward and all those different things. So hopefully this panel and these testimonials and these stories and these conversations helped you to realize that here at the University of Notre Dame. Now, that's pretty much all we have for you here today in terms of affordability. I know I already put in a quick plug for our event tomorrow, but if this maybe excited you about Notre Dame, you're thinking, okay, now Notre Dame is a place that I can maybe afford. My family might not need to worry about cost. But what else is there about Notre Dame? We kind of hinted at some of these community things and alumni network and resources and things, but we will have a very large focus on that in tomorrow's session, which will be about the second session here in our You Belong at ND series, which will be about finding your community here at the university. So tune in for that session as well. It'll be awesome. It'll be a new slew of rockstar panelists, new hosts who probably won't insert themselves as much as I inserted myself today as host and pseudo panelist up here. But that's all we got for you here today. Thank you so much for coming and joining us here for this session this evening. Have a good one.